The Tom Woods Show, episode 805.
Prepare to set fire to the index card of allowable opinion. Your daily dose of liberty education starts here. The Tom Woods Show.
Hey, everybody, if you don't yet have my free ebook, 5 Paths to an Online Income, you are missing out. This is a how-to guide, how to podcast, how to self-publish a book, how to monetize a blog, and so much more. So it's a how-to guide, and it's also a how-to-monetize guide. It's both. Check it out at pathstoincome.com. Hi, everybody. Tom Woods here. We're talking today about the State of Jefferson movement, which is a movement to detach Northern California from the rest of California and create the 51st state. And we'll talk about why they want to do that with Mark Baird, one of the leading proponents of it. You can check out the movement at its website, which is soj51.net. Mark, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Tom. I appreciate your time.
Of course, California has been in the news a bit because there are people who are advocating outright secession of California ever since the election of Donald Trump. But that's not exactly what the State of Jefferson movement is all about. Tell me what that is calling for.
The State of Jefferson is asking for an Article 4, Section 3 of the United States Constitution, and that is the article which allows the entry of new states into the Union and states that were created from former states. So Article 3, Section 4 says, or Article 4, Section 3, says no new state will be formed from the territory of an existing state unless the state legislature affected agrees and Congress agrees. So that's the agenda we have, is to form the 51st state from the northern 21 counties of California.
Okay, so tell me, given I'm sorry to say I don't know the geography of California as well as I should, what are some of the cities people would know in these counties?
Well, I don't know East Coast. I don't know that they know even these cities, but Redding, California, Chico, Yuba City, Marysville, places like that.
Now, what is is there one primary motivating factor, or do you have a lot of people who would advocate this movement for a variety of reasons?
Well, the primary motivating factor to us, and what we've been working on for 3 years now, is that Northern California has no representation. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this, and there are other movements in other states, but I think we've come the furthest in the sense that one state senator in California has to represent 1 million people, and an assembly person represents 500,000 people. So the result of that is there are 11 counties in Jefferson that have one state senator between them. And Los Angeles County has 11 state senators, and they have 15 state senators if you count the senators that have Los Angeles County and share some other county as part of their district. So you can see with a state legislature that has 40 senators and 80 assembly people, that the Southern Californians have all the representation, and Northern California has almost zero.
So so in other words, what winds up happening, the outcomes are skewed in the direction of the people who have the greater representation.
Well, actually, 51% of the representation in California lies from the Los Angeles County line south to the Mexican border. So literally, the Southern California's political agenda can be accomplished, and with supermajority in both houses now, their agenda can be accomplished any day, any time. They can pass any law they want, and they don't even have to ask people what they think about it. Now, the problem, as we see it, is that counties are taxed as individual, and many, many counties in California don't have any direct representation in the legislature. We had a pretty big fight about that in 1775.
Yeah, let's talk. I want to talk about exactly what specific things people would be upset about, because I can understand the whole system seems rigged against you, but in general, people who would join a movement like this are motivated by particular issues that especially stick in their craw. That when you say that the Southern California can get its political agenda through, well, what is that agenda, and how does it conflict with your own?
Well, first of all, let's talk about natural resources. Most of the counties of Northern California are resource-based economies. And in fact, Siskiyou County, where I live on the Oregon border, was considered the gem of California. We had a resource-based economy, And we had some of the best schools in California. We were profitable. We had a very low crime rate. It was just great here. Now, since the state of California has decided to target resource use in their political agenda, in other words, we're not allowed to log. We are no longer allowed to mine because Fish and Game has intruded into the mining rights, the mining law, federal mining law. Farming is under assault because Southern California wants what little water we have left to ourselves. And so we have lost traditionally 3 out of the 4 businesses that keep resource counties in business. And the last one is under assault, which is hydroelectric power, because the latest progressive scheme is to get rid of all the dams in the world. So now when you look at it, there are 4 businesses through which every product in the world moves. Those are timber and forest products, farming and livestock, energy production, and the last one is, and I've just lost my train of thought, so I'm not sure. But anyways, we have all 4 of those businesses, and we've been denied their use by the political processes of the state of California. In other words, our counties are not poor. We have been impoverished by mob rule coming out of Southern California, 900 miles away.
Is this a partisan or ideological issue, do you think?
No, absolutely not. In fact, when people ask me things like that, they'll say, well, what do you think about this issue or that issue? And my response is universal. It doesn't matter what I think because I have 0 representation to press the subject. I have 0 representation in a state legislature. And believe me, Republicans hate us as much as Democrats do, because if we succeed, it will pull the crown, which they have tightly pulled down over their little heads in Northern California, defending their fiefdom. And if we achieve liberty, it's going to open the political forum up to all kinds of people who will have direct representation in our legislature.
Do you have an opinion, by the way, on this subject of California secession, or would you say that even if California did secede, we'd still have the same problem in Northern California?
Well, I definitely have an opinion about that, and I'm glad you asked me because I'm writing right now. I'm currently writing and sending to our attorneys because we're preparing to sue the state of California in federal court, but we're also preparing our Declaration of Independence because the last time the Democratic Party wanted to secede from the Union, West Virginia demanded an immediate Article 4, Section 3 state split from the United States Congress, and they formed a new state. And we propose to do the same thing. If California wishes to secede from the Union, they can go ahead and try. But as far as the state of Jefferson, we stand with the Constitution. We stand with the United States of America. And our goal is to add another star to the flag, not take a star off it. And so if California tries to secede, or the government gives it any legitimate credence at all, we're going to immediately demand a state split.
Okay, so what your primary focus is then are the interests of Northern California and trying to make sure that Northern California gets the kind of representation that people expect in our system.
Well, I think that the people of the United States are going to benefit from this effort because there were 3 Supreme Court cases that put us where we are today, the last one being Reynolds versus Sims. The first one was Baker versus Carr, then Gray versus Sanders, then Reynolds versus Sims put the nail in the box of state sovereignty, so to speak. And so if we prevail and we succeed in demanding at least one assembly person for each county, and a Supreme Court chooses to opine with us, every county in the nation will have the capability of gaining representation for themselves and their citizens.
Let me just jump back. Even I don't want to hijack the conversation onto an issue that's not your primary issue, but my personal view is that the very thing that you are opposed to that's happening to Northern Californians, I feel like in one way or another is happening to all Americans. I mean, we all know that it's the myth of American democracy is that you and I put together have twice the political power of David Rockefeller. But, we don't. And so I think a lot of people feel totally dispossessed by this system. And they feel like if the federal government isn't held in check by the threat of secession, then obviously it's just what possible reason would it have not to continue to behave toward us the way you feel the rest of California is behaving toward you? So is there a reason that you would be hostile to the idea of secession?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence were, in my opinion, two divinely inspired, the greatest documents ever written by human beings. They provide us all the framework we need. Those documents work. We just need to start using them again. And as Alex de Tocqueville said in 1825, and by the way, history is constantly repeating itself, he said the greatest form of government known to man is the township or the county. So we have a framework in the United States that was intended to be governed from the bottom up and not the top down, which is what we have now. We have moved from a society that has rule of law to a society that has rule by law. In other words, the legislature exempts itself from the laws that govern the rest of us. And political elites in the large urban areas, and this was directly caused by Reynolds versus Sims, and then the minority justice opined in the dissent that if we do this one man, one vote thing, that we will create a country that's run on an entirely what he called city point of view. That's what we have today. Our government wasn't meant to run like that. It was meant to have different types of representation so that there were checks and balances. And what we're attempting to do with the state of Jefferson is move back to that model where the lower house is governed by the mass of the people and the upper house is governed by geography and community and local government. So we have checks and balances on the unbridled power of the mob, so to speak. And we also have a more deliberative body to stop the really crazy stuff from taking place, which happens in California on an hourly basis.
Well, I suppose probably on this issue, you and I just aren't going to agree, because my view would be the Constitution, if it hasn't prevented this outcome, has obviously failed. If it to say, well, we have to just start enforcing it, I'm going to stand here and wave a piece of paper in the air. Obviously, these people just laugh at that. There are no institutional safeguards to stop them from doing what they've done, or they wouldn't have been able to get away with doing what they've done.
No,
So that's why
you're absolutely right about that, and I agree with you in principle. And I think what I'm saying is that the Constitution was intended to bind government, not the people. And the Constitution never was intended to protect us from the next mob that moves into Washington. It was intended to help us safeguard ourselves from the evils of human nature, and human nature never changes. So, but what we've done over the last 50 years is we've gone to sleep and we closed the window through which we look to see whether government's doing a good job. I think people are waking up now. And I think if the people pay attention and if the people have some backbone, then we do have the ability to move back to constitutional republic and restore at least somewhat this country's original intent.
What's the population of the part of California that we're talking about?
About 1.7 million.
Okay, so what has it been like so far? How many years have you been at this?
We started in September of 2013, Siskiyou County. The County Board of Supervisors signed a declaration to withdraw from the state of California for lack of representation and dilution of vote. We now have 21 declarations in the succeeding couple of years. We've gained 20 more, and we are preparing to sue the state of California in federal court in the Eastern District. We'll probably file sometime in January, now that we're going to have a ninth justice that's a conservative. And quite frankly, we will win the lawsuit. We have 25 causes of action against the state of California for denying us adequate representation in the state house.
Are you able to get a sense of how much sympathy there is for the state of Jefferson cause in Northern California?
Oh, absolutely. You drive around here and people are constantly saying to you, when, can't you hurry? How soon can you get this done? I mean, people here are tired. The bucket is empty. We have nothing left to give them. And every time the state comes here to compromise with us over water or resource issues, it means we have to give them something else. They never give us anything. Compromise is a one-way street in California, and it flows south along with the water. And so we must do this because our lives depend on it. We don't have any choice. We have to win. Our very lives and livelihoods depend on it. Our children are leaving. Businesses are fleeing the state in reckless abandon. People are leaving. Our children are leaving and they're never coming back. And we must stop this. And now is our time. We're never going to have a better chance to do it than now.
What's the biggest obstacle you feel you're facing?
Well, an Article 4 state split, which, by the way, has been done 4 times in our history, is a process that requires the approval of the state legislature. And of course, we have had a campaign going for 2 years now, phone calling and emailing Sacramento, and literally out of hundreds of thousands of phone calls and emails and letters and personal visits to legislators, we have not had one single legislator, including our own, who will even return a phone call to ask what it is we want and why we want it. So our biggest obstacle are the people who are supposed to serve us. And that's why we're going to go to court. And when we go to court, our goal is to force a dramatic expansion in representation in the state of California so that each and every county has no less than one assembly person. That will mean the state of California is going to need 14,000 assembly people, and we're going to win.
I'm looking at soj51.net, which is the website for this initiative, and on there you've got a map of the 21 counties.
That's correct.
And they're color-coded according to whether they have declarations or not. What does it mean? Now, overwhelming majority have declarations. So what exactly is a declaration, and how did each of these counties go about establishing it?
Well, the declaration process was something we invented. We could have gone with the initiative route, but we recognized very early in the deal in Siskiyou County at the far northern part of Jefferson that we didn't have the money or the horsepower to go to 20 counties and put something on ballot. So we invented the declaration and petition to withdraw as a political method to gauge popular and governmental support. It's a very simple document. It's 1 page long. It basically says we don't have any representation, therefore we want our own state so that we can give ourselves representation. And that's it in a nutshell. Counties change the verbiage to reflect their personal needs, but essentially it's a very simple document, simply invented to gauge public support. We went to our Board of Supervisors. They approved it directly. We went to MODOC's board. They approved it directly. For example, in Tehama County, their board did not have the backbone to represent their people. They put it on the ballot, and Tehama County voters voted to force them to sign the declaration. In Lake County, there was more lying and cheating in there than you ever seen in your life, but they literally voted to approve it, and the chairman of the board didn't like the result, so he tried to have 3 more votes to unapprove it. And in the end, he even messed that up. Now, there was a county, Shasta County, where the Board of Supervisors was so afraid of power going back to the people that they voted not to listen to a presentation, and they passed a resolution that it would take a majority vote of the board to even listen to a presentation in the future. So we went to the voters directly, and we have over 35,000 signatures, which is more than 51% of the people who voted in the last general election. And then we went back to the board and said, it doesn't matter what you think or say, you are part of the state of Jefferson. The people are going to record your declaration for you. And further, when it comes to state formation, you will not be a part of it. Your county committee will make all decisions on behalf of this county for the state of Jefferson. And we walked out. In other words, the people signed the declaration. It's gone that way, one way or the other, in all the counties.
Do you have a way that people can sign up to get updates about what you guys are doing?
Yes. If you go to the website, I think you can join the 51sters and give your email address there, and people can be updated that way.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you have to click the 51sters. I didn't realize that to get on the email list so people can know what the state of things is, so to speak.
That's correct.
All right. What have I left out? I want to make sure you get your whole, because I have a friend who's been a supporter of yours. I think he's come to events. He's a musician named Jordan Page, and I first found out about you guys from him. So I want to make sure you get your full message out there. What have I left out that you want to say? Well,
you haven't left anything out. We do have another chance in Del Norte County. They recently got rid of a couple of very poor Board of Supervisor members, so we're going to be going back to Del Norte County, and we'll get a declaration now because they have 3 constitutional thinkers. I think the thing that I want to say in closing is that This isn't up to a group. This is up to all of us. If people do not stand up and demand the liberty that they are guaranteed in the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence, our founding documents, then you deserve whatever government you get. We don't get the government we deserve. We get the government we allow. And this is our chance as people to stand up and design a government that will serve the people and create the 51st state. And quite frankly, all you have to do is read the news to know that the time has come for 51.
Well, Mark Baird, I appreciate your time. I want to see this kind of thing happen in a lot of places where it ought to be happening. And the website, once again, is SOJ, that's State of Jefferson, SOJ51.net. I would urge people, especially if you're in Northern California, but I'm sure they appreciate sympathizers from all over the country, but especially if you're in Northern California, you should definitely check out SOJ51.net. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your time, and thank you for the work you're doing.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, I got a couple listeners coming on to the show to talk about various topics. And in one of those episodes, I'm going to be wondering if I've been wrong about something kind of important for a number of years. And no, this isn't verbal clickbait. This is for real. I really think maybe I have been wrong about something. I'm not totally sure, so I'm going to talk it through with one of my guests next week. That will be, which is the one where I'm having this thought, episode 807, so you can watch for that. Thanks for listening.
Become a smarter libertarian in just 30 minutes a day. Visit TomWoods.com to subscribe to the show for free, and we'll see you next time.